Welcome, ladies, to the Real Estate Investor Show, providing inspiration, strategies, and insight to empower women investors to live balanced and financially free lives. Now, here are your co-hosts, Liz and Andressa.
So on today's episode, ladies, we have Camilla Jeffs from Arizona. She is a rock star, right, Andressa?
Totally.
18 years in this business. She is a passive investor. She's an active investor. She's getting involved with major projects and just has so much to share around family and incorporating kids into your work and
kids,
5 children, and going from, nothing to, she's a general partner of an enormous construction project in assisted living, which is super cool and super fascinating. And it's got to be a very large project. So one of the things you're going to get out of today's episode, you're going to get a lot of nuggets, but we really zone in on active versus passive investing. And so many women will come to us talking about those two areas, those two roads, which one to take strategically. So we really dive into that topic. We dive into giving you some very specific tips and questions to ask yourself so you can make the right decision for yourself.
That's great. And another part that I really love about this episode is that as a passive investor, a lot of people come to her with different deals. And she really shared very specific tips for those who don't have experience, who don't have a track record. Liz, that's so important what she said, because It gives people so much confidence to, despite not having a track record or any type of experience, to still seek the goal to either raise money or be inactive. So this episode is one of my favorites. And I think, her strategic tips are really doable. It's not something that you can do like 10 years from now. It's something that you can do now. You can start now. And she has a very inspiring story. So enjoy this episode, ladies.
Welcome back, ladies. This is Liz.
And this is Andressa.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Investor Show. If you are listening to our podcast for the first time, thank you. We are so appreciative of you listening and joining us today. And if you are a returning investor that listens to us each week, thank you so much. We
Welcome
so appreciate
back.
you. Welcome back. We do this for you. So just know that. We have Camilla Jeffs on our show today. Camilla, thank you so much for being on our show. We're so excited to jump into your story here in a moment.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, Camilla's amazing. I'll just say that before we even get into her story, but we're looking forward to it. And Camilla is also one of our meetup leaders in Arizona. So if you are in that Phoenix area, she's our meetup leader extraordinaire out there. So, and she's on meetup.com and all that good stuff. But yeah, we're excited to have Camilla on our show today for lots of reasons. So before we get going, there's so many questions we have for her, and we always like to connect with all of you, our amazing women that we serve. So Andressa, we'd like to share one quick tip or something that's coming up for us, right? So what do you got for us today, Andressa?
I'm going to talk about something that Liz doesn't know yet.
Okay.
Right. So today has been a very interesting day, to say the least. 30 minutes ago, I just fired IGC over the phone because we're social distancing. And it's never easy for me to fire somebody. I give a couple of chances, I give directions. And I was thinking, it's not like the feeling like letting somebody go or having that conversation with somebody. But before I fired him, I really thought about what do I stand for? What do I want more of? And then it's just very, very clear. And what I found out to me, and I want to share that with you guys, is that at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter the experience. It doesn't really matter what the issue is. If you already repeated how you want things 100 times, if you have SOPs, if you have finishes list, if you have a signed contract with specific schedule, with specific things, what boils down to me, is the integrity. Do you do what you say you're going to do? plain and simple. And if you're not going to be able to fulfill the commitment, are you coming to me and saying, hey, you know, that X, Y, and Z, I won't be able to do that. And this is why, and this is what I am planning on doing, right? So otherwise you are completely out of integrity. And I think that, to me, my mistake where I take responsibility is because I tolerate that several times with this person until I no longer tolerate that. And it's, listen, I talk to people about hiring, firing GCs all the time. And I dislike doing it, to be honest. But it gets to the point that I'm like, wait, hold on, what's going on over here? If I need to micromanage you, if I need to repeat things, if I find the mistakes quicker than you, your quality is not there. It's just not. We're not a good match. And there's nothing wrong with people running their business the way that they want to run, but we're just not a good match. And there are some folks that is just a give and take. Andressa, can you take over here? Can you accommodate? Yeah. How about you here? Yeah. But sometimes people want to do what they want to do and whatever they want to do. And at the end of the day, it's my name that is on that project, not his. And that's what happens this morning.
No.
Fire off your call.
Well, we had another, and I had a call about, just some team member issues, right? So, but that's a really good point, Andressa, like we all could take away is, I love what you said on a lot of levels, but you said X, Y, and Z, this isn't working, but you also said, here's what I can learn from it. This is what I can do differently. And I think we all need to do that, right? When something doesn't happen, a work right, a partnership, a team member, it's hard to say that, right? It's like, no, it's just that they were the wrong person or the wrong fit. Yeah. But what can I own? Yeah, it's so much easier, right? It's so much easier. But what can I own in that? And what can I do differently? So, well, good for you. It was uncomfortable, but you got through it and your business will be better for it, right?
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with having uncomfortable situations, and it is what it is. And we just move forward, be fair with people, but not a good match. Yeah.
I love it. Well, I don't love that you went through that, but I love that you're growing and all the other good things that come from that, right?
True.
So without further ado, Camilla, thank you again so much for being on our show. You have such a unique story, and I'm really excited to get into it here. So we always like to ask the ladies that we interview, what propelled you, what inspired you to get involved in real estate investing?
Oh, that's such a great question. And for me, it was kind of a necessity because I got married very young and had a baby very young also. And my husband and I were trying to figure out, we had no money. We had, how we're going to live. And we were living in this garage off someone else's house where we were renting this like garage apartment thing. And I thought we gotta do something else. What can we do to get out of this garage apartment? And so the lady who owned the garage apartment was actually a realtor. And so we talked to her for a while, and she owned several properties and had rentals. And so she talked to us and she told us about an interesting strategy where we buy a house that had a basement apartment, and then you could rent out the basement apartment. And so we did just that. We bought a home, and it was a big home, right? I mean, really big for a young family, had a pool in the backyard, and we lived there for like $100 a month was all we paid because we rented out the basement. It had a large basement apartment area, and we rented the basement. And so it was kind of a necessity for us to be able to live cheap or free. Back then it wasn't called the cool thing it is now. Nowadays it's called house hacking.
Yeah, right.
A fun term. but yeah, it was really fun to do that. And then once that kind of really turned me on, and I thought, there's something to this real estate thing. And so then I started reading books and trying to figure out how can we continue this journey and how can we build wealth? And I started, drinking the Kool-Aid that real estate is really going to be the way to build wealth, but not only build wealth, but to build financial security and safety. I think a lot of people get starry-eyed about, being a millionaire or billionaire in real estate. But for me, it's really about like that security and safety, because I want to make sure my family's taken care of. And so, yeah, that was our first one. We did a house hack, and from there we just kind of kept going.
Wow. So one thing that I want to mention that we usually don't talk about it, right? A lot of people talk about using real estate as a tool to financial freedom, financial security. But if you guys can hear what she did, right? She moved to a house and she rented to somebody else her part of her house. So house hacking. I've done similar things in the past, but what I want to talk about is like, what are you willing to pay? What is the price that you're willing to pay? Does she want like a beautiful house with fenced white fence and all the thing, whatever? Maybe, but understanding how to use real estate as a tool, because her vision is there. So she might have somebody, hey, how are you? Good morning to you, a coffee, different situations that you're willing to do in order to pay $100 per month. Hell yeah. But I feel that a lot of people are not. They want the results of real estate, but they just want to say, okay, I'm going to buy a property, hire a GC. He's going to do everything. I'm just going to go to closing. And I'll do 3 or 2 or whatever, and I'm good to go. So it's a journey. But Camilla, what I want to talk about, like from house hacking, right? 18 years ago, was that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
It's been a long journey, right?
It has.
Did
I'm still in it.
You're still in it. It is literally a journey. There's no like a dead end. It's like, good, I'm good for life, right? But from there to where you're at now, you're investing, when we say passive, and that's where I want to go with you. When you say passive, a lot of people say, imagine passive meaning I'll give you my money and then I go to the beach and I'll just sit down and relax. So talk to us about your experience about being a passive investor. What does that really mean?
Yeah, so a passive investor simply means that you're putting your money into the project, but you're not the one that's going to be running the project, right? So you're not the one that goes out and finds the deal. You're not the one that negotiates with the brokers or the sellers. You're not the one that puts the lending on it to make sure that the lending, you don't bring all the investors together, and after it closes, you don't manage it, right? So as a passive investor, you don't have to deal with, toilets or tenants, but as a passive investor, it's really important to be educated, well educated on the types of investments that you're going to make. And so, all during my active phase of real estate, I was doing everything myself. And now I have to rely on someone else to do it. That takes a huge amount of trust. And I think that as a passive investor, you have to make sure that you understand who you're investing with. What's their track record? Have they done this before? Are they good at it? Have they been able to get through full cycles of deals? And then once they have, and do you like them, right? Do you work with them? Are they going to communicate with you? Or are they just going to take your money and just kind of leave you hanging, and you'll always be wondering, and you're going to be the one having to reach out, well, what's going on with the property? What's going on with the property? So passive doesn't necessarily mean, right, sitting on the beach doing nothing. You still need to be involved with your money, right? It's all about making those dollars work really hard for your family. And you could make them work hard in a passive investment, just like you can make them work hard as an active investor.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful because, over the years, we work with a lot of the passive investors in our core real estate business as well. And a lot of women will come to Andres and I about, because I've been more of an if you had to say what kind of investor have I been in many years, is more of an active investor, right? Looking for the deal, evaluating the deal, all those pieces like you just said. I want to be a passive investor soon. I want to be you when I grow up. But the point though is that so many women will come to us saying, I want X, Y, and Z, but I don't really want to deal with all these other things. So it's it sounds like you might want to be more passive. And I think the goal though is, one's not better than the other, but the returns are different. Obviously, the amount of risk is different. So walk us through, if a woman's listening to this and she has some money, she's got money set aside to deploy. She could either go down the passive route or she become an active investor. What might be some ways to evaluate for herself which kind of road? And sometimes it's both, right? I work with people who are actually active investors and passive, quite honestly. I work with other people who are like, I don't care, send me my checks, passive only. And then there's people that are only active.
I love them too. Those. They don't care about the chandelier or what color I'm going to use. None.
They're amazing. But but they're all different types. So I think for a lot of women that listen to our podcast and a lot of women in our community, they have both interests and they may have dabbled in both, but to really evaluate for themselves what might be a better go all in on and to really make the right decision for them is always something I think is a little harder to kind of, evaluate, figure out. So I'm curious, what either some questions or ways to really help those women who are evaluating those two roads.
Right. So some great questions to ask yourself are, number one, how much time do you have? As obviously being an active investor will take more time. So if you're in a season of life where you have more time or you're actually really good at making time and prioritizing your time, then active would probably be better than passive. Another question to ask yourself is, what kind of skills do you have? So over my journey, I've built up construction skills. So I do home rehabs with my 5 children. I've taught them all, how to rehab a house, and they love demo day. That's their favorite. And they get to scratch down walls, right? And so do you have those skills, right? Construction skills. Now, of course, you can always hire a GC to do it for you. So do you have the skills of finding the right market? Do you know how to do a market analysis? Do you know how to underwrite a property? And underwrite is just a fancy word for doing a financial analysis on a property. Do you have those skills? If you don't have those skills and you want to invest right now, passive all the way, because you go passive and then you can start learning and developing those skills. If you want to wait and develop the skills first and then use your money for something, you can do that. But I would always suggest, start investing now. Don't wait. There's power in starting early, and something that I'm teaching my oldest daughter, who just graduated from high school. You got to start early, right? That compounding, all of that early start is going to pay off for you in the end. So go passive if you don't have the skills, and then you can learn the skills, and you can learn from people like Liz, and you can learn from people like me about how to really develop a real estate portfolio and the things that we do. And we'll teach you. We're so happy to teach you about this stuff. So those are two really big questions. And then another question is are you even passionate about real estate? Does that set your heart on fire? Do you get excited when you drive by an apartment building and you see how run down it is in the front and you think, ooh, I can fix that, right? Yeah. Is that exciting for you? Or is it not? Maybe your passion is in food, is in cooking. Maybe your passion is in fitness. Don't try and fit something into your life that's just gonna, you think, oh, I should be able to love this, and maybe I can develop a passion for it. It's life's too short, right? do what you love, and then make smart decisions along the way. And so I think those are 3 key things, right? Time, skills, and passion or interest are really important when you think about, should I go active or passive?
I love what you're saying, and I just want to highlight that. If you pass in front of an apartment building and you see all the paint coming out and things like that, right? You're like, that deck was built without a permit. Yeah, okay. Right? So if you get excited, if you heard Camilla saying and you're like, yes, I can imagine everything, you're probably all like, yeah, you're passionate about it. But if you heard her saying that and you're like, what the hell you're talking about? No, I don't think that. So you know what I mean? It's automatic. So just be aware of that feeling, because you might be in real estate because you heard it was a good idea, because you heard that good gives good return. Anything that we do in life with passion will give you a return. But if you are being forced to be in this business, you're going to be tortured throughout, because it's a roller coaster, right? But I love it. And I can talk all day long, all night long, and I continue doing it. So Camilla, from the perspective, I'll switch sides, right? So let's say I am somebody that is starting in real estate. I've done my education, done my homework, and I came across my first deal, and I'm looking for passive investors to fund my deal, but I don't have a track record. It's my first deal, right?
Right.
And I think I have a clear expectation about, the financials. They're looking good. So when I come to somebody like you, for example, I'm very nervous about even having a conversation about it, because I might not know all the answers. From your perspective, how would you evaluate a situation like this, for example? Because we have a lot of ladies on our community that are starting out, and they are doing their homework and due diligence, but they don't have a track record yet to present, and they don't have the funds right now to fund themselves. So they are looking for partnerships. So from your perspective, how does that conversation go? And what do you expect from them?
Yeah. So if I had someone coming to me that said, "Hey, Camilla, I've got this deal, and here's the numbers on it. It's looking good." I would expect that person to be upfront and honest with me and tell me that this is her first deal. That's really important piece of information for me to know, because as an investor, with money that's willing to put into deals, I'm not going to write you off just because this is your first deal and you don't have a track record, right? A lot of it depends on the deal. I'd be happy to sit down and look over it with you and to look at it, because I have a lot of experience in a lot of different pieces of real estate. Now, if you're coming to me and it was a 100-unit apartment deal and you don't have a track record and this is your first deal, I'm gonna let you know that you need a partner, right? You need a established partner, someone who knows what they're doing, right? But if this is a home or a duplex, right? Duplex or fourplex, you want to pick up a fourplex. That's great. My first fourplex I picked up, I did need a money partner. And it was the first fourplex I'd ever done. I'd done a couple of single family homes before that, but it was my first small multifamily. And so I did have to approach someone and say, "Hey, I have this fourplex opportunity." And you just simply present the numbers, you present the facts, you present what you know and what you don't know. And then as I ask you questions, I'm going to be asking very pointed questions, right? So what did the fourplex across the street, how much are they renting for? And what's their occupancy level and things like that? I'm going to ask you very pointed questions, and you probably won't know all the answers. And again, back to the honesty, I want you to just tell me, "You know what? I don't know, but I can find out," right? I think those are super powerful words. You say, "I don't really know, but I will definitely find out." And then you go to work, you find out, and you return that information quickly to me. So I know that you have the wherewithal and the gumption to actually go out and make this deal be a good one.
Yeah, I love that. And it's, so often people, especially women, I should say, because that's who we talk to. That's who we're in conversations a lot with, especially in our community. We want to know everything. And we don't want to do anything until we know everything about any subject matter, let alone real estate. And, it's just not possible in this business, and so what you're saying makes so much sense in the fact of, and even women transitioning, they may be doing single family homes or flips, and they really want to get into multifamily or get into assisted living, which I want to get to with you too. So I know that's something you're getting involved with, which is very intriguing to me, selfishly, of course. But, it's you got to know really what you can bring to the table, but also be honest with that person. But I also want to just speak to the women listening that not only do you not need to know everything, but you have something to bring to the table. I mean, and Andres and I say that all the time. I feel like it needs to be said all the time because like yourself, Camilla, you're experienced, you have 5 kids, another topic we're going to get to. And you got a lot on your plate, right? You're not looking around like, I have nothing to do. Like, I read your bio and I know a bit about you. You have a lot going on. It's not like you literally just sit around all day looking for something to do and playing games on your phone. And if you do, we won't judge. But, I just think, we need to know we all bring something to the table. And the biggest thing, ladies listening, if you're less experienced, you can bring time and like hustle and follow through and like do whatever it takes to someone who has experience. They will never dismiss that. That will be one of the greatest things you can bring to the table, beyond money, beyond connections, So I just want to say that everyone has something to bring to the table. You just got to figure out what it is. And you got to figure out what that investor needs and create a match. That's really what it's about. And don't talk too much. Ask questions, right? Seek to understand. I think that's another problem people have. We just want to talk too much. So I love what you're saying. The other question though, around passive versus active before we transition, I want to just ask quickly is, it's also about the returns, right? What are people's money goals? Because if you can meet your goals in being a passive investor, why would anyone be an active investor, to be honest with you? I love real estate and I love investing, but you have to also look at okay, I have this amount of money. We had no money. The passive investor wasn't a choice for us, right? We started, there was no choice there, obviously. So it wasn't like, I got all this money, I'm not sure what to do. I was like, we got to be in this game, right? We got to be the operators, if you will. But as you kind of continue on, it's like, okay, am I going to choose which path am I going to choose and what makes more sense? And Andres and I are talking about different business ventures. And our question now is, we don't need to operate this business. We can, so it's as you get a little more seasoned. So my question to you is, what are some of those money questions, those money goals that women can answer for themselves if they are in the wonderful position where they have that chunk of money they can deploy passively or actively, beyond the questions that you asked a moment ago were amazing, because sometimes they could actually just fulfill their financial goals if they invest one way or the other. It doesn't have to be, any other way. So any other thoughts around that? Because I think that's a big one too, around what people's actual money goals are. We forget that sometimes.
Yeah. It's good to be crystal clear on what your money goals are. And for me, it's really easy to break that down to a monthly goal. So a monthly goal of passive income. So how much income does my family need to, 1, survive, right? 2, live comfortably, and 3, enjoy our life. So what's that number? Now, it's going to be different for every family. I have 5 kids, so my number's got to be higher than someone that has 1 kid. Maybe depends on where you live, right? So you have to be crystal clear on that money goal. And then the other thing that you always need to be thinking about is you definitely have to be future focused with your money goals as well. Because if you've gone to a traditional financial planner, then they sit down and they say, okay, when your retirement it's at age 65, then you got to do these. And then they break it down. Here's how much you have to save per month, right? Very similar process in real estate. Except for most of us, we're not looking at age 65 is when I'm going to retire. We're looking at how do I get to financial independence, complete financial independence, and how can I get there as fast as possible so that I can then really live the purpose that I was meant to be here on this earth for. And so you have to really look at that. And so we're looking at probably a crunched time, a shortened time, but really putting your money to work. And then the really interesting thing is, in a passive investment, the numbers are laid out very well for you. It's easier for me now to look at those numbers and to be able to project my what I'm going to make on the property than it was when I was doing my single family, rentals and fixes. Like the numbers were it was difficult for me to project how much I would make on a single family home because single family homes are. They're subjective, right? Their value is subjective. It depends on what Sally down the street sold hers for and what, Jimmy sold his for, right? You just never know what's going to happen. Whereas in like large apartments or assisted living, there's a business plan, and it's almost like you're investing in the business, and the business has to execute the plan. And once the plan is executed, here's the returns that you can fairly confidently achieve with that business plan.
That's a great point, because it actually is more of a conservative approach. But again, depending on your financial goals and where you are in life, that might be perfect for you and perfect for where you are in your life. Let's talk a little bit about the assisted living, because I know you've been passive, right, for a long time, and you're transitioning to being on the GP side of an assisted living opportunity. I know nothing. I mean, I know assisted living because, I'm familiar with the concept, but from an investing perspective, we don't have any assets in that type of approach. So I could only imagine, though, it's growing and there's a big opportunity. That would be my hunch, but I'd love to pick your brain a little bit, especially the one listening. I think that's something that's been talked about, as another niche that we haven't really covered on our podcast. So tell us a little about why assisted living and just the project you're working on.
Yes, I'd love to. So why assisted living? So for me, I'm a very purposeful investor, right? For sure, I need to have financial returns because money is a tool that needs to take care of my family. We can't get away from it, right? And there's a lot of talk about what's your relationship with money, and I've had a lot of weird relationships with money. And I'm finally to the point where I'm like, okay, you're just a tool in my toolbox, and I'm going to use you, and I'm going to make you work hard because you have to work the hardest for me and my family. And so, but also with a financial return, I want to be investing in projects that set my heart on fire, that really have a purpose to help communities, right? That's why I love apartments. It helps whole communities. And then assisted living is really taking care of our elders, right? Of the people who have paved the way before us, and now they need our assistance. And so the project I'm working on right now is an assisted living for memory care, and it's a new construction. And we're going to be building these, and I just fell in love with this concept. So it's kind of more innovative. It's building like a neighborhood. So we're building a neighborhood of bigger homes. Think of them as like a 12-plex, right? But it's a home where the residents live together. So it's a smaller type of facility than the really big assisted living ones that have been built, right, so far. And so the residents feel like they're still living in a home, and then it's memory care. And I have, I had a very poignant experience with a grandmother who suffered from Alzheimer's, and her children kept her in their home, and it was hard. It was really, really difficult disease. It takes their memory. They, just a lot of hard things happen. And so I just feel like that if I can be providing some kind of way for people with Alzheimer's or dementia to live humanely and in a beautiful way, then why not? Why would I not invest in something like that? And then you talk about the market, right? So the market, that demographic is growing. I mean, we have the baby boomers are aging. This is a need that is going to be huge. So it's projected in the next 10 years that over 3 million seniors will have Alzheimer's or dementia. And we do not have the facilities to take care of them currently. And so if you think about it from a business perspective, it's a huge opportunity to get into the assisted living space and, senior housing. There's different levels of it, but I love assisted living because it's not as involved. It's not like buying a hospital, for example, which is what the skilled nursing facilities are. It's building homes where the seniors can actually live and function, but still have the care that they need. And so opportunities are huge, and the returns on the investment are actually bigger than my other investments that I have in multifamily. And so I'm really excited about this project. I'm excited to bring it to life and to see it through. And this is my first new construction, like large new construction that I've done. So I'm excited to learn all about that as well.
It's weird to say that. So my first new construction project, I was like scared. And then I found out, I was like, that's easier than all the full gut rehabs and all the unforeseen things, because you have architects and engineers and it's like black and white. This is how it's going to go. So there's no like surprise, termite, right? So, Camilla, I love, I had the experience with my grandmother too. For 9 years, she had Alzheimer and lived with us. So I know that we had to hire somebody day and night to be there, because everybody had their lives. And the more that we wanted to be there with her, we just couldn't, right? And everybody mentally is such a toll on people. So I get that. And I think that for all the ladies that are listening, it doesn't really matter when you are, where you are in your real estate journey. More and more, I have found that we are kind of like combining our real estate investments with something that we are really passionate about. And you get to the point they're like, why would I settle for less? Why would I not do a project that I'm really passionate about it? And on top of that, the returns are great, right? So I think that that's something that we don't need to wait until I am like down the road to get to that point. My question to you is, what do you see as your purpose? Because real estate, I also see as part of what we are, right? But not truly who we are as an individual is what we do. For you, do you feel that sense of connection with where you are at right now in your path?
Yeah, that's a deep question. You're going to get down in my heart.
Yes.
We don't fool around here. We don't fool around.
No, it's good. So my big purpose in life, and I'm going to try not to cry, is to be an example of chasing your dreams for my children. So I have 4 daughters and 1 son. And my 4 daughters, and I grew up in a very traditional home where women did one thing and men did the other, right? And so for me, I'm trying to really blast through those barriers that and they don't exist as much anymore, right? I mean, my family has definitely morphed, but for me, my purpose is to show my children that me as a woman, I can do things that people thought a long time ago we couldn't do. And I can definitely take those steps forward. And I hope, my biggest hope is that the small steps that I take right now, my children are involved in my business. There's no separation of my business and me as a mom. It's all connected. We do it together. So for example, my 15-year-old twin daughters, they help me do my video editing for the videos that I make. My oldest daughter helps me with my website design. They're all right there. She's like, helps me pick my shirt for this podcast interview. So they're all there. I'm sitting in my daughter's bedroom right now for the podcast. So it's just being involved together. And so just showing my children that life can be business and business can be life, and it can all be one and the same, and we can live a beautiful life together. So that's my main purpose is to do that, and then hopefully inspire other women to do the same, to involve their families and to work together as a family towards a common goal.
I love that. And, with your kiddos, did that kind of just evolve, and because there's women who are listening to this who have young kids, and I would love to pass off a bunch of things to our 6-year-old, but I don't know if he's ready for major stuff. So it's a process, right? But you don't want to wake up with a 15-year-old and go, oh yeah, we're real estate investors. And by the way, we'd be like, screw that, Mom. I'm going to go back to my phone. Right. So it's gotta be something you introduce. So what did you do when they were young? What did you do? Do you have certain strategies that worked with them at different stages? Were there certain recommendations you can give the one listening, depending on where their, children's ages are?
Yeah, you bet. So we bought our first flip, I guess. So we'd done several live-in flips, but our first real flip we bought when my twins were 9 months old. And so we're like, okay, we're gonna go do this flip. And we had 2 9-month-old babies and a 3-year-old, right? So 3 kids under 3. And we're like, yeah, we're just going to go do this.
Good timing. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Right. And we had just moved to a new state and we had no family. We had no help with the babies. So we just, I guess we're taking them with us. So we took them with us. And that established a pattern over the next 18 years of my kids were right there with us. So when we bought our fourplex, I had, I think all 5 at the time, all 5 kids, they came over and they helped us paint the walls, right? They came with mom to mow the grass. Funny story. That's when we learned my son was allergic to grass. Oh, wow. And I ended up with like swollen eyeballs and it was crazy.
Geez. Oh my gosh.
But they're right there with us as we do our business. And so, it wasn't find a babysitter. Now it may not make sense for other women, right? It may make sense to find a babysitter and then go off and do what you need to do. But for me, I just felt like it was important for them to see what we do, to be involved in what we do. And so they would come with me to meetings. I mean, of course it's boring, right? But now if I fly, so I flew to Oklahoma to go meet with some brokers and look at some multifamily apartments. I took my 2 youngest with me and they come with mom on a business trip and they're so excited. They get to fly on an airplane and go drive around in a cool new car because we don't have a cool car. We just got a big minivan, right? So that's what I do. And so when they're young, they just know that that's just part of their life, right? That's what they do. We jump in the car, we go and we check on our properties. So think about really tangible things. So little kids, they can't think about numbers. They don't want to look at spreadsheets. They can't do technology. Well, they can, right? But really tangible things that they could be involved in, right? So when you go to Lowe's to pick paint colors, let them come and choose their own paint swab. And they get so excited to choose the colors and they take home like 5 or 6 and they're all excited about their colors. Yeah. And so things like that is how you can involve little children. And then as they grow up, it's just part of their life. And now we're learning all about how to run an online business because I just really want to spread the word about how amazing investing passively is. And so we're building our own online business. And so how do we do the marketing for that? How do we use social media? I mean, they're good at social media. Yeah. Teenagers are way good at social media. Last night, my daughter's laughing at me because I did the wrong thing in my social media post. It is what it is. So that's kind of my advice.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And it's funny, people often say it's the whole separation, right? We talk about balance. We talk about our mission is to support women or empower women to live a financially free and balanced life, whatever balance means. You can take balance and totally, for another hour, we could kind of philosophically debate that. But from a holistic approach, and it's really powerful, right? To include and involve your kids in all of it, right? Not just the shiny stuff, but like all of the pieces and all the different aspects of what we do in this business. I know for me, my son really wanted this. I didn't even know Legos cost this much, but it's a $200 Lego set that you can get. I didn't even know Legos cost that much, And I'm like, okay. And then I said, okay, your birthday's going to come up in the fall. Awesome. And that's like my sister Chris. And I'm like, no, we're going to do something different. We're going to do a little earning project. So we're going to do, I got to think about this with COVID, all that kind of stuff is going to affect it a little bit. But I live in a neighborhood and we start brainstorming together, me and Zach. I said, what do people walk around with all the time? He's like, dogs, so many dogs, because we're right on the corner. I said, what if we sold dog biscuits? He's like, I'm going to earn enough to buy that. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And it depends on, and then we're going to look at the costs. Oh, they cost money. I'm like, I'm not going to pay for that. You're going to pay for that. It's costs and service. So I'm teaching, I was like, this is an awesome opportunity beyond the $200, right? This is an amazing opportunity to get into his consciousness about wanting something, working towards it and earning it. And I said, and he goes, well, you're going to put some money in, you're going to match me? Because we've done that with toys.
Well, I said, it depends. What are you paying? What's your return?
Yeah. I said, that all depends. We got to see, there's going to be certain things, right? I said, if you complain and I got to see the effort, right? It's a lot of things are going to play into this, and it's certainly getting my money back of putting the money, someone who's going through all that. But my point in sharing this with what you said is there's all opportunities when things go right and things don't go right for us to teach our kids something. It doesn't have to be this like perfect glassy, let me open a book and tell you about this amazing property I bought. Nothing happened to go wrong. Nothing wrong happened. And it was perfect. And when it got to the closing and now I make $1 million. That's not how it works. We all know that. So involve them. Involve them and tell them about your day. Something tough happened to me today. I'm going to remind myself, I got to talk to my son about that. Why do I only tell him the good stuff or the stuff like, oh, this is a property mommy and daddy are working on to purchase? That's glossy. That to me is glossy. It's commercial versus like the real stuff, no, this shit is happening. I won't say shit. Sometimes I do, but this is the real stuff happening. And how can you learn it, use it in your life? So I just think that's awesome that you do that. And it's very inspiring. 5 kids. So I know Andres has got some questions to ask you and got to have you back on with all the good tips you have. Where can the ladies learn more about you, Camilla? You have so much amazing things happening, especially with your work that you're up to with your course. So where can they learn more about you?
Yeah, so I own Steady Stream Investments is the name of my business. And so you can find me online at Steady Stream Investments. My email is camilla@steadystreaminvestments.com. Love to connect with you there. You can find me on social media, same thing, Steady Stream Investments, or connect with me on LinkedIn, just my name. I'm active on several social channels. I'm still learning how to do social media and marketing and all that, but I just trying to really provide value. I do have an active Facebook group called Passive Investing Made Easy. And so you can join my Facebook group. And then finally, I did create a free masterclass. So I just made a bunch of videos about how to even invest passively. Because a lot of people are like, well, how do you even do that? So I made a free masterclass about that. And you can get that on my website as well. So
awesome. And I'm going to make sure that all the links for you guys to reach Camilla, it's on our show notes, including the link for her masterclass. Don't miss that. Now we're going to transition to our fabulous 3 questions. And the first one, Camilla, is what's the most transformational book you have ever read?
So that's a good one. So it has a silly title, and it's one I read when I was 16 years old, and it's called Kissing a Frog: Finding Comfort Outside Your Comfort Zone. And so, it's the story of this woman and how she kind of like busted through her comfort zone. But it's not one that won any awards. It was not a New York Times bestseller, but it was transformational for me because I read it at a very pivotal, vulnerable time in my life. When you're in those teenage years as a female, like your brain is just going crazy. And so that book has sat on my shelf. I'm not one that collects a lot of things, but that one I still have today because it has taught me that as you grow, as you step outside your comfort zone zone grows with you. And so something that was so hard for me 18 years ago is now I don't even think about it. And I just do it. It's not even hard for me to pick up a phone and call a broker, but that was super hard a long time ago. And so it's just one of those really interesting things so I'm constantly trying to figure out ways I can push my comfort zone.
Amazing. The second question is, what's the most powerful routine you do to create a financially free and balanced life?
Yeah, so for me, it's all about exercise. I love to make sure that I get in some kind of exercise every day. And I'm an early morning person. I've always have been. I've always loved the mornings. And so I like to get up and get outside and get in a run, a walk. Sometimes I sprint just for fun, just to get my body moving, and it also clears my mind and helps my mind for the next day. And then one other powerful routine we have is that at the end of the night, we participate, we do a prayer together as a family, and then we have a family hug where we all put our arms and circle our arms around each other in this big circle. And that has always that's a very powerful moment for me as a mother to encircle about my entire family in a hug.
Beautiful. And the last question is, which women, famous or not, has inspired you the most?
So I get inspired by all sorts of women. I see women doing things and I'm like, man, you are amazing. You go, and in their own spaces too. So of course I have idols like Harriet Tubman and Michelle Obama and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like they are so amazing. But then I'm also inspired by one of my best friends who just had her 9th baby. You think I have a lot,
wow.
right? She has her 9th baby, and those children love her, and she loves her, and she's just amazing. And then I'm also deeply inspired by my oldest daughter who just graduated high school, moved out. Her zest for life and her attitude of, here I come, world, I'm going to take you on, is super inspiring to me.
Nice.
I love that. I love that. Well, Camilla, thank you so much for being on our show. I love your connection to purposefulness and investing and just what you're up to. So keep doing what you're doing. The world needs your message. So, and thank you so much for all you do for the meetups. So ladies, we'll put that in the show notes too. If you're in Arizona and Scottsdale, Arizona area, well, I don't know if you're meeting in person right now, but definitely check out Camilla's investor meetup. So, but thank you again so much for being on our show. We so appreciate you.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure. I just hope that women just get inspired to just go and do and be amazing. Like, show up, own your worth. You're going to do great things.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to receive updates on our next interviews, go to our website, therealestateinvestor.com. There, you can subscribe to our show, become part of our investor community, and get updates on upcoming episodes.
If you like our show, please share it with other women who would benefit. And don't forget to leave us a rating on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. And as always, we encourage you to take one action as a result of today's show and put it into motion so you can live both a financially free and balanced life. Thanks for spending time with us.
Ciao.